This is Earl Amin with the 2020 Foresight Podcast, where CEOs of mid-sized companies share their insights. It is 6 questions in 9 minutes because top CEOs know how to listen and be concise. So let's get to it. Question number 1. In a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Peter Cook. I used to be a scientist. I got over it. I'm a business MBA tutor and a musician. I've synthesized science, business and music into a holistic whole. And I go around the world talking to people, and I've written 12 books and had the privilege of getting Richard Branson to give me an interview for one of them.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Question number 2. What's the best thing about being the CEO?
Well, it is the ability to define your own sort of life and your own progress and success. I choose the clients that I work with. They don't, well, sometimes they choose me, but I choose them. And I think that means that I get to work with great people, and that actually improves your game all over, really.
Indeed, and agreed. Question number 3. I hear from other CEOs that leading their team and being able to see what lies ahead can be a challenge. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think there's several things one can do as a chief executive. Write books. I've written a book about the future. That requires you to do lots of research. So reading is one thing. Getting out and finding out what other CEOs are doing is another way of doing it. So you can learn from theory. You can learn from experience by talking to other people. You can learn from pretty well anywhere. But learning is what matters, and being curious and inquisitive. And I get that from my science of asking difficult questions of others and of yourself. That's really hard.
Indeed, indeed. Question number 4. What piece of insight do you want to share with other CEOs?
Well, I guess that over many, many years, I've synthesized what business thinkers sort of talk about subjects with parallel lessons from music. And I think that people think that's a bit strange, but let me decode that, because music really is applied physics. Business is, a lot of it is mathematics. Yes. And physics is mathematics applied to a problem. So I sort of think that actually you can learn really easily, not just by reading textbooks of what management gurus say, but by learning from music. And I've got a little demonstration, if I may make one, because, you know, there's a lot of boards, if they're having trouble, they have what the psychologists call cognitive dissonance. And that costs them billions of dollars if they don't listen well. But in business, cognitive dissonance can cost you an absolute small fortune. But in music, you can make beautiful music from musical dissonance, which we often talk about earworms or riffs. So I do talks, a thing called Riffs and Myths of Leadership, where I discuss this. And just to take an example, the beginning of the Rolling Stones, Paint It Black, goes like this. Now, in musical speak, they're all consonant notes in the blues or minor scale. But then it has this other bit before it starts. It goes, those two notes are dissonant. They're too close together, as we say, if we're not musicians. And you make millions of dollars from that sort of stuff. So I spend a lot of time talking to leaders, and I draw these parallels out. And the lesson from that one, of course, is to listen to stuff that sounds a bit weird at first. So the great CEO listens to the newcomer that says, hey, boss, I've got this great idea. They don't just say, well, I haven't thought of it myself. They listen to the weird idea. They're not all going to be great, but they listen really well and try and pay attention and develop ideas so that they become really good riffs. So that would be one of my parallels there.
Excellent. Question number 5. What other successful CEOs like yourself would you like to acknowledge and should be on my podcast?
Well, if you can get them, this would be great. But I mean, I've had some great mentors through my time. Richard Branson is one of them. He runs a great company that balances profit, passion, and purpose. I also had the privilege of talking to Professor Charles Handy in my early life. He's a great management thinker. And people like that, I would think, would be the great people to go to.
Awesome. Question number 6, the final question. How do you celebrate a win?
Very meekly, I have to say. I don't rush out and buy a bottle of champagne or reward myself. I really don't think that matters. If it's someone else's success, however, I think we do need to recognise and reward that. And recognition is much more powerful than reward. So thanking people when they do anything good is a great way to get people to do more.
Excellent. All right. Mr. Cook, it's been a pleasure having you here today. How can people find you?
They can find me at Human Dynamics, which is www.humdyne.co.uk, and the Academy of Rock, which is Academy of Rock with hyphens in it.co.uk. But you can Google that. It's easy.
Sure. This is Earl Amin with the 2024 Sight Podcast. For more insights, go to LinkedIn and search for The Gray Owl Company. Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you.